Hey guys, so as you may or may not know, Anastasia is coming out with mini versions of Sultry and the Modern Renaissance palette. I believe they are available on her website now, but I thought it'd be fun to dig out my Sultry palette and kind of use this palette as if I had the new 9-pan mini version of it. I loved getting to use this palette again. I think it's such a stunning palette and I love that they're coming out with a 9-pan version. So if you want to see how I got this eye look, go and keep on watching. So here is what the original Sultry palette looks like. It is so pretty. It does lean more cool tone, but then you do have this pop of pink up here and this brown right there that leans a little bit more neutral warm. I'm going to swatch the 9 shades that are in the new 9-pan version so I can see what shadows I'm working with today. Here are the 9 shades that are in the new 9-pan mini palette. We have Pearl, Cinder, Twig, Birch, Cyborg, Dystopian, Slate, Ember, and Noir. So obviously they had to exclude some of the shades, and I'm a little sad that these 3 shimmers are not in the new 9-pan. I really do like these shimmers: Teak, Steampunk, and Rose Quartz. I am personally happy that they did exclude that pink shade Bloom, because if you just take that shade out of this palette, it really changes the whole vibe, and just adding it back in, I feel like it throws off the color story, and that's just my personal opinion. And for my brushes today, I will be using my Sigma Favorites brush set that is finally back in stock. So my brush set has 5 of my go-to eyeshadow brushes that I use all the time on my channel and in my tutorials. So we have the E21, the E28, the E42, the E25, which is such a classic, and then the E57. I created this brush set to be a complete brush set that will help you create any eyeshadow look you want. My brush set retails for $67, which is 20% off the price if you were to buy all these brushes individually. So let's dive into the Sultry palette with my eyeshadow brushes. I'm going to start with my Sigma E28 in the shade Twig, and I'm going to pack this shade throughout my entire crease. And I love this brush because it's kind of like a fluffy lid packing brush, and I can actually use this brush for a bunch of different steps when I'm doing my eyeshadow, but I've also used this brush for like under eye concealer and like under eye brightener as well. And I did already prime my eyes before I started my eyeshadow. I just used my Rare Beauty eyeshadow primer. So I'm using this brush to really press the shade into my crease to get it nice and pigmented and laid down beautifully. I'm gonna pick up a little more shadow and focus that really directly in my crease. I really like that Anastasia is coming out with these 9-pan mini versions of like 2 of her most popular palettes. I just think it's a great idea, and especially since this palette Sultry was limited edition. I know that people still talk about and rave about this palette all the time, and it really was such a good palette when it came out, and especially right now with the eyeshadow trends being more like neutral leaning, a little bit softer. I think this is a great palette to come out in 2023. I don't really understand why they made this palette limited edition to start with. Like, if they made this part of their core line like Modern Renaissance and Soft Glam, I think it would be like their best seller personally. Alright, so I have the shadow laid down throughout my entire crease, and now I want to blend out this harsh line right here. So I'm going to take my Sigma E25 and use the tip of this brush to blend around the edges. And I have no product on this brush. It is completely clean. This E25 brush is probably the most versatile brush in my collection. I can use this for so many different eyeshadow steps. I can use it right now like to blend out eyeshadows. I also use it to blend shadows in my crease, or I like to use the flat side of this brush to softly pack on shadow. I can also use it across my lower lash line. Like, I just love this brush, and I really do think this is a brush that everyone should have in their collection. This is one of the very first Sigma eyeshadow brushes I bought probably like 9 years ago at this point, and I still use it every single time I do my eyeshadow. So by just using that clean E25, my shadow is much more blended out now. Now I'm going to take my lid brush, which is my Sigma E57 in the shade Pearl, and I'm going to place this shade on the inner half of my lid. I am going to do a little bit of a gradient today. I love using this brush to really pack on shadows because it is nice and dense. And I am layering up this pearl shade a few times just to get it nice and bright, because I really want this shade to pop on my lid and just really kind of brighten up my whole eye look. Now I'm going to go back to my E25 and just softly blend around that pearl shade right in my inner crease. Now on that same brush, I'm going to pick up Ember, and that's going to go on the outer half of my lid. And this shade is described as a khaki, so it does have the tiniest bit of green in it, but it's a very neutral color. And then again, just taking that E25 and I'm just like really lightly patting around the edges of Ember. And I'm also going to pat right here where these two shades are meeting. Now on that E25, I'm going to take the tiniest bit of dystopian. So I just picked up a little bit of the shadow on the very tip of this brush, and I'm going to use that to deepen up this outer corner of my eye. And I'm just doing a really light patting motion. And because I'm using this kind of fluffier brush to apply this shade, it's really going to give me a diffused look because I'm not using a dense packing brush like that E57. So here's how it looks with dystopian added and without. So it's just a little bit deeper. So I went ahead and did my face makeup off camera, and now let's do the lower lash line. And for the lower lash line, the two brushes I'll be using the most are the E21 and the E42, again for my brush set. They're just so nice and small and are perfect for the lower lash line. I'm going to start with Twig on the E42 and just running that across my entire lower lash line. I love this Twig shade. I think it's a great just kind of transitional crease shade. It's nice and cool toned. Now on that E21, I'm going to take dystopian, and I'm going to use that to deepen up the outer part of my lower lash line. I also really love this dystopian shade too. It's just a perfect, super deep brown shade. I'm going to take a little bit more dystopian and just kind of tap that along the outer part of my top lash line. So I already added some of this to the very outer corner, but now I'm going more on the lash line. And this E21 brush is perfect for getting in these small little areas. Now I'm going to take my Sigma switch and I'm going to run that E21 across this mat, and this is going to get all of the dark pigment off of my brush. And I'm going to go back to Pearl, and I'm just going to really brighten the inner corner of my eye. So Pearl is kind of on my inner corner all the way into my inner lid. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Pearl right under my brow. I went ahead and finished my eyes off camera, and I popped on my mascara and lashes. And for my lashes, I'm wearing the Bright Lashes Nova. Now I love this lash because it is a shorter style, so it's not going to touch my eyebrows or just kind of like get in the way. It's nice and short, but because it's shorter than your typical lashes, it does add some nice density to the base of your lashes. And I just think it looks so pretty, and it's not too overpowering like typical false lashes. Here's what the full face looks like. On my lips, I'm wearing the Lawless lip liner in the shade Nude Honey with the Sigma lip cream in the shade Begonia on top. And I just love how this whole look turned out. I forgot how much I love the Sultry palette. Like, I haven't really dug this up, I think, since my last 12 days of tutorials last December. But I just think this is such a stunning palette, and I'm so happy they're coming out with it in a 9-pan version. So Sultry is one of my favorite palettes if you kind of missed out on the full-size version or just kind of want more of a cool toned, kind of smoky palette. I think it's a great one to pick up. I'm gonna link everything I used today down below, including my Sigma Favorites brush set. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.